Today, we confront a silent epidemic, not of the body, but of the mind. It is the epidemic of fragmentation, a life lived in 1,000 scattered pieces, pulled apart by digital noise, fleeting anxieties, and a constant, low-grade sense of dissatisfaction. We chase happiness in achievements, possessions, and the approval of others, only to find it's a horizon that perpetually recedes. But what if the solution wasn't out there at all? What if there existed an ancient, systematic blueprint for reintegrating the self, a technology of the mind that has been tested for over 2 millennia? In the minutes that follow, we will embark on a deep exploration of such a system, the 7 Factors of Enlightenment. This is not a vague spiritual discussion. This is a psychological masterclass. We will deconstruct each of the 7 pillars, from the foundational power of mindfulness that sees reality clearly, to the focused energy of investigation that cuts through delusion. We will explore the surprising role of joy as a catalyst for growth, the deep tranquility that serves as your anchor in any storm, and the laser-like concentration that allows you to bend reality to your will. Finally, we will arrive at the peak state of equanimity, the unshakable mind. If you feel adrift, if you are tired of being a slave to your own thoughts and emotions, then stay. Clicking away means returning to the same fragmented existence. But by staying, by walking this path with us, you will be handed the keys to the operating system of your own mind. This is the promise, not just information, but transformation. We begin with a fundamental question that echoes through the life of every thinking person. How do I find a stable sense of peace and clarity in a world that seems to destroy it? We are told to be mindful, to be positive, to be resilient. But these are just destinations. No one hands you the map. Today, we unearth that map. It's a map that leads to what the ancients called enlightenment, but what we might call profound psychological well-being or mental freedom. This map is comprised of 7 stages, 7 interconnected factors that build upon one another to create a truly unshakable mind. Think of them not as abstract beliefs, but as mental muscles, and today we are going to the gym. The first and most crucial of these factors is Sati, which we translate as mindfulness. Now, I want you to immediately discard the popular watered-down image of mindfulness. This is not about sitting in a quiet room with scented candles, blissfully emptying your mind. True mindfulness in this context is a far more active, powerful, and radical faculty. It is the capacity to see things exactly as they are, without the cloud of your judgments, your memories, your fears, or your decisions. It is the non-reactive, bare awareness of the present moment. Why is this the foundation? Because you cannot solve a problem you cannot see clearly. You cannot heal a wound you don't know you have. Your anxiety, your anger, your self-doubt, these things thrive in the fog of unconsciousness. Mindfulness is the act of turning on the light. It's the master key that allows all other work to begin. Consider the Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius, a man who practiced a Western form of this very principle. He wasn't sitting in a monastery. He was commanding armies, dealing with plagues, and navigating the treacherous politics of the world's most powerful empire. His form of mindfulness was a daily practice of self-reflection captured in his meditations. He would write, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This realization is impossible without first observing the mind. He had to mindfully watch his own reactions to betrayals, to losses, to the immense pressure of his position. He had to see the gap between an external event and his internal interpretation of it. That gap, that sacred pause created by mindfulness, is where our freedom lies. He wasn't immune to anger or despair. But his practice of awareness allowed him to see these emotions as passing clouds rather than identifying with the story itself. In modern psychology, this is the bedrock of therapies like mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT. They are built on the empirical evidence that the simple act of observing your thoughts without judgment fundamentally changes your relationship to them. A thought like, "I'm a failure," loses its power when you can reframe it as, "I am having the thought that I am a failure." The thought is still there, but you are no longer its prisoner. This is the shift from being tossed in the ocean to being the lighthouse that watches the waves. So how do we cultivate this? It begins with simple, concrete actions. Start with your breath. For just 2 minutes a day, do nothing but feel the sensation of air entering your nostrils and leaving your body. When your mind wanders, and it will 1,000 times, your task is not to get frustrated. That act of noticing and gently, without judgment, guide it back. That act of noticing and returning is the bicep curl for your mindfulness muscle. Extend this to daily activities. When you drink your morning coffee, just drink the coffee. Feel the warmth of the mug, smell the aroma, taste the flavor. Don't plan your day. Don't rehash a conversation. Be there. When you are walking, feel your feet on the ground. This isn't about adding more to your to-do list. It's about fully inhabiting the moments you already have. What if you could reclaim your life, one present moment at a time? That is the power and promise of mindfulness. Once mindfulness has turned on the lights, the second factor can emerge: Dhamma Vicaya, or investigation. This is not a passive state. This is active, discerning wisdom. It's the quality of a brilliant detective or a dedicated scientist applied to your own inner world. Now that you can see your thoughts and feelings clearly through mindfulness, investigation asks, what is this? What is the nature of this experience? Is this thought true? Is it helpful? Where does this feeling of anger actually come from? It's the process of dissecting reality, of looking deeply into the cause and effect relationships that govern your life. Without investigation, mindfulness can become a bit sleepy, a bit dull. With investigation, it becomes a sharp tool for liberation. Think of the great intellectual revolutionaries of history. Socrates is a perfect example. His entire philosophical method was one of relentless investigation. He would walk the streets of Athens and ask people simple but profound questions. What is justice? What is courage? He wasn't doing it to be annoying. He was doing it to investigate the assumptions that people lived by but never examined. He understood that an unexamined life, a life without investigation, was not worth living. Most people's beliefs are secondhand. They are inherited from culture, family, and experience without ever being put to the test. Investigation is the act of putting your own mind on trial. It is about questioning the narratives you tell yourself about who you are, what you're capable of, and how the world works. Modern cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is, in essence, a system of Dhamma Vicaya. A core technique in CBT is to identify an automatic negative thought, like, "I'll never be good enough," and then actively investigate it. The therapist guides you to ask for the evidence. What is the evidence for this thought? What is the evidence against it? What is a more balanced, realistic way of seeing this situation? You are applying scientific skepticism to your own suffering. You are realizing that your thoughts are not facts. They are hypotheses, and many of them are simply bad hypotheses that have never been properly tested. Investigation is the process of running those tests and discarding what is false. It is the courage to see the truth, even if it contradicts a story you've been telling yourself for decades. How do we practice this? Journaling is one of the most powerful tools for investigation. Don't just write what happened in your day, investigate it. When you felt a strong emotion, anxiety, jealousy, excitement, pause and write about it. What triggered it? What thoughts were passing through your mind? What sensations were in your body? What story were you telling yourself? Follow the thread. Another powerful practice is to consciously question your beliefs. Take a belief you hold strongly, perhaps about politics, money, or relationships. Spend 15 minutes trying to argue for the exact opposite point of view. This isn't to make you abandon your beliefs, but to loosen their grip on you, to see them as perspectives rather than absolute truths. What if you could become so intellectually and emotionally flexible that no single thought or belief could ever trap you again? That is the freedom that investigation offers. With awareness established and investigation sharpening our minds, we need fuel for the journey. This brings us to the third factor, Viriya, which translates to energy or effort. This isn't the frantic, caffeine-fueled, burnout-inducing energy of modern hustle culture. This is a wise, balanced, and persistent effort. It is the courage to begin, the persistence to continue when things get difficult, and the wisdom to know when to rest and recharge. It is the middle path between laziness and frantic striving. Viriya is the joyful, wholehearted engagement in the path of self-cultivation. Without it, even the best insights from mindfulness and investigation will remain just that, insights. Energy is what translates insight into real, tangible change. Consider the story of Theodore Roosevelt. Plagued by severe asthma and a frail constitution as a child, he could have easily resigned himself to a life of quiet fragility. But his father famously told him, "You have the mind, but you have not the body." This sparked a fire in him. Roosevelt embarked on a relentless regimen of physical exercise, boxing, weightlifting, hiking. He applied a tremendous, sustained energy to overcome his physical limitations. This same Viriya characterized his entire life, from his exploration of the Amazon to his presidency. His effort wasn't manic, it was directed, purposeful, and sustained over a lifetime. He understood that potential is nothing without the energy to actualize it. He embodied the Stoic principle of taking the obstacle and making it the way, which requires immense and continuous effort. Psychologically, this concept is deeply linked to what's known as activation energy. The hardest part of any task is often just getting started. Viriya is the mental force we apply to overcome that initial inertia. It's the energy required to put on your running shoes when you'd rather stay on the couch, to open the book when you'd rather scroll through your phone, to have the difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Research on habit formation shows us that consistent, repeated effort forges new neural pathways. The more you do something, the less activation energy it requires. Viriya is the conscious application of effort to build the habits that serve you until they become second nature. It's the understanding that motivation doesn't lead to action. Action leads to motivation. You generate energy by expending it wisely. How do we cultivate Viriya? First, by connecting with your why. Effort is unsustainable without a clear purpose. Why are you doing this? What deep value are you trying to honor? Write it down. Put it somewhere you can see it every day. Second, break things down into laughably small steps. The goal isn't to meditate for an hour. The goal is to sit on the cushion for 1 minute. The goal isn't to write a book, it's to write 1 sentence. This lowers the activation energy and makes it easy to start, which builds momentum. Third, learn to manage your physical energy. This means prioritizing sleep, nutrition, and movement. Your mental energy is directly tied to your physical state. You cannot expect to have sustained Viriya if you are neglecting the vessel that carries you. What if you could tap into a wellspring of steady, renewable energy to build the life you truly want, day by day? This is the gift of Viriya. As we apply this wise effort, something remarkable begins to happen. The path of self-development ceases to be a grim, joyless slog. This leads us to the fourth factor, Piti, which is often translated as joy or rapture. This is a crucial and often overlooked element. Piti is the uplifting, energizing quality of joy that arises from wholesome actions. It's the feeling of lightness and delight that comes from knowing you are on the right path. It is the mind's natural reward for letting go of harmful states and cultivating beneficial ones. It's the opposite of the fleeting, grasping pleasure we get from sensory indulgence. This is a deep, internal joy that arises from clarity and purpose. It acts as a powerful motivator, making the path not only sustainable but deeply enjoyable. Think of a master craftsperson, a woodworker, a painter, a musician. Watch them when they are completely absorbed in their work. There is a palpable sense of joy, of serene focus. They are not struggling or forcing it. They are in a state of flow, a concept beautifully articulated by the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Flow is a state of being so completely immersed in an activity that everything else disappears. Your sense of self dissolves, time distorts, and there is a deep sense of enjoyment in the process itself. This is a perfect modern expression of Piti. It is the joy that arises when your skills are perfectly matched to the challenge at hand. This joy is not the goal of the activity. It is a byproduct of full engagement. Piti teaches us that the reward for our efforts is not just some future enlightenment, but the very quality of our attention and engagement right now. This joy is a powerful antidote to the negativity bias of the brain. Our brains are wired to scan for threats and problems. It's a survival mechanism, but it means we often overlook the good. Piti is the conscious cultivation of joy and appreciation. It's learning to savor the positive. Neurologically, when we focus on and savor positive experiences, we strengthen the neural pathways associated with them, making it easier to access those states in the future. It's like training a searchlight. You can train it to always look for what's wrong, or you can train it to also illuminate what is right, what is beautiful, what is working. So how do we cultivate Piti? One of the simplest and most profound practices is gratitude. At the end of each day, take a few moments to reflect on 3 specific things that went well, however small. The key is to not just list them, but to re-experience the feeling associated with them. This actively bathes your brain in the chemistry of appreciation. Another way is to celebrate small wins. When you successfully stick to a new habit, take a moment to genuinely acknowledge your effort. Feel the satisfaction. This creates a positive feedback loop that reinforces the behavior. And finally, engage in activities that bring you into a state of flow. Find something that challenges you just enough that absorbs your full attention, whether it's a sport, a creative hobby, or a complex work project. What if your journey of growth could be fueled not by grim discipline, but by an ever-expanding sense of joy and well-being? This is the invigorating power of Piti. As the exhilarating energy of joy settles, a deeper, more subtle state arises. This is the 5th factor, Passaddhi, or tranquility. If Piti is the bubbling excitement of a discovery, Passaddhi is the calm, confident peace that follows. It is the deep relaxation of both body and mind. The agitations, worries, and tensions begin to fall away, leaving a profound sense of stillness and ease. This is not a sleepy or dull state. It is a state of serene alertness. It is the necessary calming of the waters so that you can see clearly to the bottom. Without tranquility, the mind is too turbulent for deep concentration and insight to arise. It is the foundation for the final, most refined states of mind. We can see this quality in the ideal of the Stoic sage. The Stoics aimed for a state of apatheia, which doesn't mean apathy, but rather a state of being undisturbed by passions. It's a profound inner tranquility that is not dependent on external conditions. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his tent on the war-torn frontier, was not in a tranquil environment. He was surrounded by death, disease, and the chaos of battle. Yet he could retreat into his. We have covered the blueprint, but the real work begins now. If this journey resonated with you, subscribe for more deep dives into the art of living. Now, I leave you with this. Which of these 7 factors speaks most urgently to your current life? And what is one small step you will take tomorrow to cultivate? Activate it